Thank you. I believe we have some visitors who are going to lead us in our pledge today. If you want to come on up to the podium. How are you this evening? Good. Could you give us your names?
Vanessa McConnell, Aaliyah Jones.
Welcome. It's good to see you.
Three of our student council members from Northside.
Well, thank you so much, and take us off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. We'll go ahead and call roll. I'm obviously present. Dr. O'Neill?
Present.
Mr. Heater?
Present.
Mrs. Bales?
Present.
Mrs. Barnes-Griffin? Mr. Irvin?
Present.
Mr. Lowe?
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Grimm, the floor is yours.
All right, Board of Trustees, Dr. Kwiatkowski, members of the cabinet, welcome. Thank you for allowing me to be here to tell you a little bit about my school, and tomorrow you get firsthand visit of it as well. So it's not just talking about it today, you're going to actually see some of these things in live action tomorrow morning. So that's great. So want to talk about some of the highlights that are going on at Northside this year. I guess I'm the first one to do this year. So one of the first things I'll talk about is our reopening plan. I think Dr. Kay and Dr. Reynolds and everybody that worked on this, I was on various committees throughout the summer working on this, and it's been very successful. I mean, had positive press in the newspaper about that, and that we haven't really had sick kids or quarantined kids. And you know, some of the practices that we're currently doing, I like better than the old practices that we used to do. So those are all positives. I think we're able to provide a safe environment. I think it's great for kids to be in school, in classrooms, with teachers, with their peers. I think there's lots of benefits to that. The virtual learning is great, but I think just being in person is that much better. So we've made it a while, and I was talking to somebody this week, and I told them I think it'll be like this all year. I think we'll be in school. I plan on being in school all year, and I think that's great for our kids. So it's very safe. The cleaning is very good. The kids have done an excellent job with their mask. They hate them just like all of us do not like them, but we wear them. They wear them. They do a pretty good job for middle schoolers with social distancing. You have to remind them of that occasionally, but so I think all of those things have been very, very pleased. I guess I wanted to see, and you may have more questions tomorrow, what kinds of questions do you have on a school basis on the reopening plan, like in action? Are there any things that you've wondered about, like what's going on in the schools this way or that way? Because I'd be happy to address or answer any of those for you.
You guys have been giving us that information as we go. So maybe tomorrow
Okay.
we might have additional questions.
Sounds good. Okay. Moving on, Becky. Okay, so the innovation plan is fairly new. It just got sent through in July. So we've been trying to incorporate that into what we do each day. And a couple of the things that I think are very important with that has been our social emotional learning. That's one of our big goals this year. I think COVID has increased a whole layer on the social emotional stress of our students, of our families, of our staff. I think that's something we've never dealt with. So that's been very important. So we've addressed that with some different things. We've added an additional counselor at school, which has been outstanding to have that kind of support with our students. Even though there's not as many kids in person as there typically are, the needs of our students that are there are still just as great as they've ever been. So having an additional counselor has been excellent. We've started some restorative practices and circles with our students. If they're in trouble with teachers or those relationships need fixed a little bit, we've started doing some of those sit-down circles with our staff and our teachers and our students. So those have been really good. Second Steps program, we're starting that social emotional program, which is through our Lilly grant, which goes through that. And we're working on how we can best fit that into our schedule, because our schedule used to fit that really well. So now I think we're going to look at maybe some PE and health classes to fit that into. Meridian is in our building and working with our kids, which is great, and they have been. And then we've got a new position through a grant through Mrs. Smithson that we have a Ball State psychology student that is working with some of our students that are struggling socially and emotionally in school. So we have several new things there, which have been great for our kids so far this year. I've seen a lot of pluses with that this year. The next piece of the plan has to do with professional learning. And we just got out of this before we came here. So we had early release day from 2 to 4. I told the master teachers, I really like these days. I hope these days stay in our schedule. They're really good chunks of time that we can actually sit quality-wise with teachers and present a good professional development product. When we're trying to do this before their hours or after their hours, it's really difficult to get every teacher there. Right? We had every teacher there today. So, and then, it's also really tough to do it during the school day with subs. And if you try to do it, a half hour here, the quality's not there. So when we have the 2 hours that we had, like we did today, we can do some really good things with staff. So I really enjoyed those. I think we'll see a benefit from those over the years to come. And I hope they really continue. The other piece in the professional learning is our Ball State PDS liaison. So Dr. Roof is who it is at Northside. He's also a parent at Northside, so he has a lot of vested interest in Northside. He's been coming to all of our ILT meetings every Monday morning at 8:15. He's there sharing different things that he can do and help our school. He's arranged for several student teachers that'll be there in the spring. So that relationship is good for the professional part of our school as well. So. This part is probably one of the things I'm probably most proud of since I've came to Northside, and this has been able to retain our teachers. So if you can see the data up there, before I came, I hired 20-some teachers my first year at Northside. And you can see as we've went through over the last 3 or 4 years, those teachers are all staying now. We're down to 11, down to 9. This year we hired 4 new staff members, and 2 of them are from additional spots. One was a teacher that was an aide that kind of helped us out last year on an emergency license, that she's still an aide there. She just didn't want to be the teacher anymore. So we replaced her, and then we had a teacher become a master teacher that we had to replace. So really we didn't have any, until the start of school, any teachers leave us to go to other corporations, to go to other jobs, to go to other things. So I think that says a lot for our building culture and climate that we've tried to build at Northside, and building a good camaraderie with our staff, and that they want to stay and they want to be there. And some of that has come from the school board and what the school corporation has done for the teachers over the last couple of years in addressing some of the financial things that they were leaving the Muncie schools for. So I think those are all big pluses for our school year. So any questions on any of that? So this year we have a new process. with through NIT, which I really like. It gives us a great structure. Tangela, who we work with, is really great at communicating with us and getting us what we need. But we have what we call master teachers, and they've had a whole lot of different names and roles over the last few years. They were data coaches at one time, and then they became instructional coaches. And now through the NIT process, they're master teachers. And I am very blessed because at Northside, I probably have the two best, if I'm maybe biased, but the two best in the corporation. So they have been longtime Muncie Community Schools employees. They've served in a variety of roles under a variety of people throughout time. They're very well respected in our building for their knowledge, for their ability to, work with staff, for their relationships they have with staff. So all of those things make them really, really good at their roles. So I enjoy sitting back and watching them create and do and lead in our building. So I've asked them to come here and talk a little bit to you about what they do each day and answer any questions from you about, what their jobs are, because it is a new role that we have in the corporation. So I would like to introduce my wonderful master teachers, and that's Mrs. Lori Church and Mrs. Joanne Norris.
So I guess I'll start. Can you hear me? Is that me?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I'll start by just telling you our primary role. We have a ton of roles within the building, but our primary role is to analyze student data and teacher data, and then based on that data, prioritize what the need is of our students and our staff. And then Lori and I go out and we find research-based strategies to bring back to our cluster meetings. And then we present our strategies. The teachers go back and they try them in the classroom. And then the next cluster, they come back and bring evidence like student work, lesson plans, reflections, and that's our basic role. But we do lots of things.
Yeah, we do. We are in classrooms just about every day. We work with students with the iReady testing. We train teachers for iReady. We provide I would say, probably 95% of professional development in the building. Today, we led most of the session for the early release day. Our primary role right now is with the new rubric that we want to help teachers become familiar with that new teacher evaluation rubric, because we really feel like those practices, if we can get them to that proficient level or that exemplary level, that will increase student achievement. So we created professional development binders, and we broke it down by that rubric. And then when we go out and we find research or we ask teachers to do things, they put it in that binder so that they have a reference point to go back to. I mean, what do you want to know from us? We'll answer your questions about what we do.
Questions?
Our PD today was on environment. So at the beginning of our NIET training, we really talked a lot in our leadership team about the need to have positive relationships, student to student, student to teacher, but also teacher to teacher. There's just significant research that shows that is a key contributor to student achievement. And so we broke the staff up into groups, and we had them deep dive into that rubric, and they worked in partners, and then we did gallery walk and had them walk around and dive into some of the components of that.
And they did a great job.
They did a great, they were reluctant, and we're like, come on, you can do it. And then,
They were very creative.
Very creative. And then we talk a lot about that in order to become more effective teachers, they have to become deeper thinkers, and they have to be more reflective in their practices. And so every time we lead a PD, we have them do a reflection piece for us. And today it was take a look at the environment rubric, and we want you to rate yourselves. If you were your own evaluator, what would your score be? And then why would you say that? What evidence could you give us to support that? And then choose one goal out of all of these. Choose at least one goal that you will work towards to increase your score to make your learning environment better for your students. And then I think they all reflected on it for us today before they left.
Do you both feel like you have the necessary tools and resources to do your jobs with the program? And if not, what would be helpful to you?
I feel like we have what we need. When we don't have it, Eric finds it for us if we ask him. We rely on Tangela a lot,
Okay.
especially when we want to use training videos or different things to teach the teachers. She's very good about hooking us up with the resources that we need. We spend, like this morning, for example, I talked to the coaches at Southside because we feel like since we're sister schools, we really don't need to reinvent the wheel always. So we try to touch base with them. So right now, I think we have pretty much everything we need. We do a lot of, part of this job, and probably the most challenging part of the job is that, you know, we're supposed to be the experts. And so sometimes that doesn't mean that we have all the knowledge that we need. So we have to go out and seek our own professional development so that we can develop the teachers appropriately. So we spend time researching on our own and finding our own resources to do that. So
if there was something we didn't have, occasionally it's time.
yeah,
But
it's
other
time.
than that-
Time is big.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just think from everything we've heard thus far, the program seems to be off to a pretty positive start. And I'm wondering if, as we get further into it, if you all would be willing to help tell that story to the community.
Of course.
And I don't know that we're there yet. I think give it a little more time and hopefully get through these next few weeks and see where we are with COVID. But I think it's such a positive thing in the system that I would like to have the story told on a broad basis to the city, and would love it if you guys would be willing to participate. I mean, I think I met both of you last year or 2 years ago when we sat down. So
I think if we could get the teachers, right now it's a very, you know, just in and of itself, it's a strange year.
Right.
And the transition from old teacher rubric to new teacher rubric, teachers are trying to find that groove to where they can show you that they're growing, because the rubrics are so different. And so we're trying to be that basis of support to help teachers understand that we see you, like we know that that's what you're doing. And although we can't give you you know, like we're giving you everything that we can right now, if you'll give it time and you'll just walk the process, walk with us, we will get you where you need to go. It's like Joanne said, time is a huge factor. There's just not enough time in the day.
Especially for the teachers. They're overwhelmed with block scheduling and COVID, and most of them are not only teaching in class, then after school, they're making a video lesson for the kids that are quarantined. So there's a lot of change. And then to have to learn this new rubric, sometimes it's overwhelming.
yeah, and I think we're not there yet, as I said, but in my professional world, I know everything is taking longer right now.
It is.
Nothing is as efficient as it was a year ago, and so I know it's the same, if not more so for you all, because of the incredible challenges that we're trying to overcome.
Mr. Grimm does a really good job with us. He trusts us. He knows that if he gives us a job to do, it's going to get done, but he also allows us to use our professional judgment on things, so that if we go to him and we say, we know that this will work, he'll usually say, go for it, we'll see what happens. So,
Well, we've
huge
told him
support.
to, as I've told Dr. Kwiatkowski and others, it's a lot easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
it is.
So,
I've used that a couple times.
any other questions?
I do. This is a great story. You know, it leads to teacher success, which leads to student success. But at the end of the day, how do we measure that? How do we go back and loop back to say, these are the things that were really effective because we find, what is it we're looking for? What are the outcomes? I mean, it may seem obvious, but I'm not real
We're
clear.
hopeful for student growth. We're hopeful student growth, when looking at this year, it's iReady because we don't have iLearn data from.
It's that
last
test,
year.
okay?
So, and just the whole atmosphere, the students, and hopefully we'll see change
Yeah.
physically, aside from just the academics.
And I think a huge piece of it is student engagement. You know, how are students walking into the classroom? Are they excited about going into classroom? Are they excited about learning new things? I think that when we start to see the students begin to take more ownership in their learning, then I think we'll know that it's been successful. But I think we have to provide rigor for that and keep pushing them.
And that's a good point. It's not measurable, but it's observed, which is
Right.
really good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, Jim, one of the
Yeah.
things that Mr. Grimm and you all should be really proud of is the numbers, I mean, on turnover. Now,
Yeah.
if those hopefully stay as low as they were this past year, that's a wonderful success. And that at least tells me that people are reasonably happy and growing. And, you know, if the faculty is happy and morale is good and everybody's growing, then students can't help but be
Good.
affected positively
Yep.
by that.
And we see it too in lesson plans. We, as well as Mr. Grimm and Mr. Ben does, we look at their lesson plans and then we give them an area of refinement and reinforcement. And their lesson plans, they're really taking our advice and changing things. We did a PD on
Friday.
Friday, yes, on reading or writing strategies in other classrooms. And we had a science teacher that took it, and the strategy that we gave him, the RAP strategy, he came up with really creative ways. And last year, he was just, you know, by the book. His lesson plans are amazing. I feel like we're constantly telling the teachers that we're so proud of them because they're doing such a great job. They're taking things and not looking at us, well, some of them complaining, saying you're giving us too much to do, but most of them are really receptive and are trying to do better, want to do better for the kids.
And they do seek us out. What can you help me with this? Can you come over and watch me teach this and tell me, you know, how that looked or what did it look like? And so they are very receptive to having us in their classrooms. They never turn us away or make us feel like we're not welcome to be there.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Just want to take a moment and thank you again for your time this evening. And thank you for the work you're doing.
I guess just to finish up, last couple things that I have. We have always new things every year, you know, and several of them they talked on, so I won't spend too much time on that. We do have master and mentor teachers, and the mentor teachers aren't here tonight, but you know, we'll see them tomorrow in action. They actually teach a full schedule, but then they're going to these meetings and they're leading some of our PD as well. Cultural competency has been kind of brought back a little bit in full force in the district. We're doing a monthly kind of take 10 that we've got a team trained that's doing. Ball State was in on, there you go, on Friday, working with our social studies teachers to try to infuse more culturally competent different things into our curriculum and stuff for our social studies teachers. So that's been great. At Northside, you will see tomorrow, we do house the secondary virtual program. The elementary program is housed here, but we have the secondary teachers in our building. So that's taken some, you know, refinement as, okay, this is where we started and this is where we're at now. But I think we're to the point where that's becoming a pretty smooth process. And then we've added several new curricular pieces, which is good because they're more updated. We've added additional Project Lead the Way classes this year. We added some business classes this year and some college and career classes, which was a high school accredited class. That's moved down to also being available into the middle school. So we have that. So I think those are a lot more applicable to what our kids need and the times. So those things are great. So you'll see tomorrow that we've done quite a bit of building upgrades. I would like to throw a shout out to SSC. If you remember what Northside looked like in the past, it looked like it did, you know, 20 years ago when I started. There's been some minor upgrades through the years, but not a lot. So we tried to really bump up the way it looks on the inside for the kids. I think that brings a different spirit and culture to your building if it looks nice and they're proud of it. And that's an ongoing process. So we teamed up with the Ball State Art Department, and they've done some things, and they've got some more things coming as far as a pillar wrap and some different designs and quotes around the building. SSC painted the entire downstairs, so we're hoping for the upstairs here at some point. They stripped 20 years of wax off the floors, and those are bright white now. It's just it's a more vibrant school. I know Mrs. Church's daughter was an 8th grader last year. She's been there all 3 years. Now she's at the high school, and she walked in with her the last time she came in. She goes, "That's no fair. It didn't look like this when I was here." So the extra time that SSE got through the COVID, I guess that's a plus, because they were able to do quite a bit of starter things to make our buildings look a little nicer. So there's some pictures. And like I said, you'll see more of that tomorrow when you're in the building. We still have some areas of growth. Mrs. Church mentioned one of those is engagement, and that's, I think, a big thing, how we're going to know if we're successful. The way our kids are receiving their education in class, I think, is going to be a big teller on how this process works. So we're still working on how to instruct during a pandemic, because every best practice that they tell you to do, now they tell you we can't do those things. Oh, you need to have partners, you need to be in groups, and you need to do all this stuff. So just trying to figure out ways to do that is a challenge, but our teachers have been very successful. They'll do groups on the computer. They'll assign 4 kids to a group, and they all have their computers in front of them, and they're in different spots in the classroom, but they're all in the same group working on the same thing. So those are very unique kinds of things that we're dealing with. So, and then I think in general, I want to continue to build up the building aesthetics. I think that shows the community that our school looks nice on the inside and the outside, and it's, just a nice spot that's in the community. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but I look forward to showing you around the building tomorrow.
Any questions for Mr. Grimm? Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Dr. Kwiatkowski.
Well, I'd first like to start by thanking Eric and his team. I've been here a little over a year now, and I just have really enjoyed getting to know you and work with you, and you are just an exceptional leader. We're very fortunate to have you, and I appreciate you are always forward thinking, and so sometimes I'll get a call from Eric, and he'll say, "This is happening in 2 weeks. Have we started thinking about?" He's wanting to make sure that everything goes smoothly all the time. And I just appreciate his dedication to his students, his teachers, his family. So thank you, Eric, and for your entire team. I also wanted to mention we have been on quite a few board visits. We've been to all of the elementaries with the exception of Westview, and we visited Southside. Tomorrow we'll see Northside. We visited Central, and we still will get to the Career Center. And it's been great. From my viewpoint, and I know you all think the same thing, getting into schools, seeing teachers and students in action, and just seeing the growth that from year to year. We're really proud of all of our schools. We put out a press release that we've received. We had a great week and received quite a few grants within a week. We should have gone and purchased a lottery ticket. It was our week. So we received a security grant to be able to get additional radios and to do some wraps around the front of the schools for safety. The Department of Justice, Tony Harvey wrote a grant to the Department of Justice for $500,000, and that is going to put new cameras in all of our schools, and then all the technology that you have to put in the ceilings to make those cameras work. So we're excited for that. We received a 21st Century Learning Grant, similar to what we have at Longfellow with the MP3 program. I know that Pat's here today from Ball State University, and they were helpful with
They were able to get an extension for 1 year to move into a different school with their program, and the expectation was the district would then write for a grant. We would love for Ball State to replicate MP3, but they have the capacity only at Longfellow. So we partnered with the YMCA. They're working with the YMCA this year in a site director, and then next year we'll be running that program with the YMCA at Grissom. And that after-school program, the grant, we received $125,000 or $150,000, and that grant each year we'll get that amount up to 3 years. If we meet our goals, then it will be renewed again. So that will be some nice services for students for quite a few years. We also received a digital learning professional development grant. So that is to extend. Ball State University has a remote learning series where currently 188 of our teachers participate, and they received a $250 stipend. This will allow us to extend that to more teachers, so we'll find another time frame to offer and be able to allow more teachers to participate. And then this also, you've heard mentioned about the Ball State University Muncie Community Schools Social Studies Initiative. This will allow us to fund some of that work because we're finding we're using many digital resources to make sure our curriculum is relevant and vibrant. Today, I just learned that we worked on a tutoring fellowship innovation grant. So this really is pretty unique. It's where our high school students who need bucket 2 in grad pathways, so some of that service learning, it will allow them to provide tutoring services, and the students we'll target are the students in our virtual learning program. And so we have kids that may need some extra services, but they're struggling with those. And so virtually our high school students will be able to go in with the elementary and middle school students to provide some of those supports. And so this is something that we've never tried, with pairing our high school students to support some students at the elementary and middle school. And so we'll be very anxious to see how this comes about. So I did try to put in stipends for our high school students to do that, and that was rejected. They didn't like that innovation, but I thought, hey, wouldn't that be nice at the very end if they received something? That we'll find another way to reward them for their work. And so with that, I also wanted to share that if you remember in the spring, all of our families received a little credit card from FSSA where they received some funding because of moving to virtual learning or being at home for the e-learning because of the pandemic. We just received notice yesterday that for our students that are in the virtual learning program, if we uploaded their names, and because all of our students are in the community eligibility program for food service, all of the families in our virtual learning program will get 2 months worth of funds at, I think it's like $5.86 a day. And so that will, per child, so that will provide some additional resources since they're at home learning. We do provide on Mondays at the high school, any of our virtual learning families can go and pick up a week's worth of breakfast, lunch, and dinners. But this is, because they have to travel and get there, this is just another resource. So we submitted that. Tony received that late last night and got the information and submitted it today. So I appreciate that quick work, Tony.
Any questions for Dr. Kay?
Absolutely. So we do have a compensation committee where we are looking at compensation for our administrators and for our support staff. And I hope that by our next board meeting, is that being too ambitious? I'm looking at Brad and Jim.
No,
We hope by our next board meeting, we would be able to have an executive meeting before and then be able to, bring that to the board. That would be our plans.
Yeah, I think we wanted for those who are watching online, we wanted to get through count day, which was just the 18th, Friday. And I think that gave Brad enough of a slice of information with which to make some recommendations. So we'll pull together here in the next few days. Any additional questions for Dr. K? I just want to say on behalf of the board and the community, thank you to all who have been involved in securing these grants. That's a remarkable series of events. And if I'm understanding that correctly, on the remote learning, each of the teachers who participate get a $250 stipend, is that correct?
That's correct.
So that's really nice. And then the tutoring obviously is I think I'll be anxious to see how that goes. But so thank you to who all had a role in the grants, just by show of hands. I know Tony, Dia, Chuck.
Me.
You. Thank you so much. We had a whole team here just a minute ago. What happened to everybody? So, you mind me putting you on the spot for a second? Come on up the podium. So tell us your name.
My name is Sam Voss.
And we met last year, right?
We
At the
did
Web
meet
of
at the
Support?
Web of Support, correct, yes.
Yeah, and you abandoned me on the second day, and I
I
was.
did. I regret my decision.
And that's exactly the right answer. So what brought you here tonight?
I would love to say that I just wanted to attend a meeting, but it's a requirement by our government teacher. So I am here.
Oh, well, do they get credit because they left?
That will be a question for the teacher, not me.
So Sam, what I would say is you and Jerry, you want to come on up and introduce yourself? No? Okay. So I would suggest that Brittany, if you'll get a hold of Mrs. Snyder
Oh.
and Jerry, is it Jerry, is that right? Yeah. Jerry and Sam get A's. And the rest of those guys who snuck out of here real fast, got their photo taken by Andy, they used Andy. Maybe C-, what do you think?
I have no comment.
Okay. Well, are you enjoying yourself?
I am enjoying myself. Yeah.
How's your year going?
It's a little different than normal. I'm a senior this year, so that's a little different as well. But I've been able to play soccer games, which is great, and been able to go to school still. So that is all things to be grateful for.
Do you have any questions for any of the board?
I do not, no.
Any questions for any of the administrators?
No, sir.
You sure? Is there anything you need?
I'd love $1 million, but
Mr. Heater can make a loan. Jerry, you having a decent year?
yeah.
Good. Well, thank you for coming. We
Thank
appreciate it.
Will you still try to do justice and try that again?
Yep, we will see how it goes, but that's the goal, is to do something. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No worries.
So we didn't have any public comments, right? So we will move to the consent agenda. Dr. Reynolds, on personnel, we have a recommendation for the VLP program. Do you want to take that and introduce Mr. Troop?
Yes, if I could.
Sure.
Yep, Mr. Troop. Mr. Troop is an Indiana guy, but comes to us via Knoxville, Tennessee,
Okay.
and has spent the 2 years leading our expulsion school program, which was, for the most part, for our secondary students, but for the most part was based in a digital curriculum. So he was a good choice as a lead teacher, and actually he was a mentor teacher for Eric at Northside, and I acquired him from Northside, unfortunately for Eric. But he has just been a natural fit in that position. He has stepped up and led and provided support to our teachers and our students and our families, and just has been outstanding. He's a graduate from Knoxville, University of Tennessee. We won't hold that against him. But he's now at Ball State pursuing his master's in educational leadership.
Mr. Troop, thank you for helping us. Is there anything you need to serve in that role more effectively?
But we're still sort of, in some ways, finding out. It's all very, very new.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Reynolds and I are working very closely together to find what supports we need, and we are continuing to make progress on that every day, I would say.
Any questions for Mr. Troop?
I have a question, not necessarily for you, and let me preface what I'm about to say that it has nothing to do with you personally. But I just wondered if we have a description for this new position and some sort of basis for this starting salary, because it's significantly more than a teacher's salary. I understand there's more demands for the job, but I just wanted to see how we got there.
Yeah, we use the job description from the administrative assistant that is in, that was in HR. So it was comparable to the position we had at both middle schools that we don't have, or that one is not there anymore and one was replaced. He is really overseeing the VLP program, and there are 1,393 students in that program. In addition, he's teaching the health and PE class.
So it's my understanding that he's effectively taking over what Ms. McGowan was doing. Is that?
Part of those roles, yes.
Okay, thank you for that. That's why I just wanted to clarify what's the job description.
And so also he'll be doing some of the teacher evaluation pieces of how many teachers do you have in the program?
25.
So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Mr. Troop? Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
You are, yes.
Okay.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for being here, and thanks for taking this. It's an interesting time.
Certainly is, thank you.
Build the plane while you're flying it. It'd be fun.
Okay, so then on the other issues in the consent agenda, I did not see anything else by way of discussion. Did anybody else have anything in the consent agenda? Okay, all those in favor of the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved. Mr. Lowe, second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. We are on to the MOU. I still want to, I'm getting used to Bell. Dr. Bell.
Good evening, President Williams, Board of Trustees, Dr. Kaczynski. This evening, I'd like to ask that there be a motion to approve the recommendation from Ball State University's sub-award agreement for our Longfellow MP3 program for 2020 to 2021 school year. With that, MP3 is in its 10th year of running, and it was a program started out through Ball State with Dr. Pat Clark and Dr. Eva Zagnet, working within Longfellow and their school within the school community. MP3 started in 2010, and I feel like I know a lot about the program, but still not as much as Dr. Clark, of course. But my son, who is now a 10th grader at Muncie Central, was a part of that first kindergarten program. And it started out as kindergarten, and each year they've added grade levels, and now it's focused on K through 3. And then in the spring, they have what's called Extreme, and so it includes 4th and 5th graders, and they're looking at STEAM with the art, the music, the engineering, and encompass Friday facilitators. I know Ron White has come and presented on Fridays. I know the music teacher has done some things for Fun Fridays with the music and the arts. And so with this, this is the 3rd year of the grant, the current grant that has been in place through Ball State. And so as the sub-agreement, we just ask that you approve it, and teachers are there staying after school, working with our students.
Any questions for Dr. Bell?
So just clarify, so because they have to continue to run, aren't they already, MOU from last year is still currently active, right? And then Just want to make sure I'm.
And I believe in this year, we worked with Ball State so that we have language in that we'll just keep running the MOUs and then just bring them if there are some significant changes that we need.
Any additional questions? Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I want to take a moment and recognize and thank Dr. Clark for all of your work with this program. And Eva's not here tonight, but please pass along our gratitude for her devotion and contributions to this program.
Thank you,
And
I will. It's been a pleasure.
so thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Jerome, item 78.
Thank you. Presented in your board packet is a reduction of 2020 appropriations in the operation fund. What this is, we're reducing our authority to spend in this particular fund. We had a budget approval in that fund for 2020 of a little over $15 million. So we're still going to be able to spend approximately almost $14 million in that fund. Because we have tax cap impact in that fund, we would not have had the cash to back up the authority to spend anyway. So what this does is allows us to meet our 2021 budget obligations that we put together just 2 weeks ago. And we're just looking for a motion to approve that tonight.
Any questions?
Move approval.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we are on to the depreciation expense policy, item 79.
Thank you. This comes up really based upon, we're in the midst of our State Board of Accounts audit right now. This provides clarification going forward from July 1, 2020. What this does, it just helps clarify what our depreciation expense will be for the various categories. If you're wondering, well, how do we have depreciation expense? We're a cash basis of accounting. If you remember, we have to convert our financial statements for our audit with Ball State and State Board of Accounts. We use Baker Tilly Umbaugh for that, and we present generally accepted GAAP financial statements, so we do have to use depreciation expense. So this just helps clarify that going forward. Up until that time, it was a range of years were used. This just clarifies it, makes it more clear for us as well as the auditors.
Okay.
Just looking for a motion to approve.
Any questions? Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Also, okay. Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mr. Jerome, financial report.
Thank you. The financial report you have in your board packet just reflects the financial notes for the month of August 2020. We're always happy to report we still did receive our state basic grant in the month. Obviously, the changes with ADM count, with the state of Indiana now coming out and saying that they will honor those virtual learning students and treat them just the same on the ADM count as they do an in-person account, then therefore we'll be funded just the same. So we will not take a hit because of anyone in virtual learning. That will have to be cleaned up at the legislature, but at least that's ongoing. I'd just like to provide that we're still planning on finishing the surplus position in the education fund. We still had a little over $26 million in our cash balance at the end of August. And we have started to pay back our $12 million loan. And that outstanding balance now is just a little bit under 11.8 million. So that'll be paid off in full by the end of 2028. And that really kind of reflects just some of the highlights for the month. It'll be a more clear snapshot when we get to the end of December.
Okay. Any questions regarding the financial report?
I just can think back to 2017 and early 18, and see where we are today. That's like,
Right. For sure.
Yes, thank you, Brad, and to those, administrative assistants and Mr. Edwards and Mr. Coddington who helped us get to this position. So would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second it. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Dr. Reynolds, you have an amendment.
Yes, I have an amendment this evening to add the virtual learning program VLP textbook fees to the already adopted fees. When we adopted the in-person textbook fees this summer, we didn't have the virtual fees included in that. So before you today, you see a breakdown. I think it's important to note that that doesn't cover the entire instructional resource cost of the K-12 platform for our kids. It's about $350 a student, so it just covers a fraction of that. But as you can see, it's kind of an average of the in-person fees that those families would pay. The 6 through 12 fees are a little different. We just charged $20 per course. Not all students will would take 5 courses from the VLP. Some are taking dual credit or other advanced courses through the high school still, and doing that in a blended virtual setting. So that's why the 6 through 12 fees are a little different. So I ask for a motion to accept the VLP textbook fees as presented. Yeah.
Have a motion to approve. Second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll show that passes. Any dialogue?
I just say I have really enjoyed the tours.
Absolutely.
We've been able to have some really good discussions with the leadership in all the schools. And even in the midst of COVID, to be able to see the students thriving and seeing the student success is still at the top of our list. And it's exciting. The culture in some of the buildings, you just see a difference night and day for some of them. So I just want to say thank you personally. And in Everett, we want to say thank you for all that you've done and you're doing for our students and our students.
Anything additional? Sam, Jerry? Anything for the good of the order?
Ms. Snyder knows you're here, so you can leave now.
I feel the pressure to stay.
Should we give you guys like the code word to like boost the grade?
I think Sam's going to make a nice politician.
Yeah, I do. Class is right up his alley.
Is there anyone from the media here? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved in second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Great work.
Sam, we're adjourned.